The Mimic Tier Ashes once had a backstory, character, and entire questline attached to them before it was completely cut from Elden Ring. At the core of that cut content is Asimi. Asimi is, or was I guess, the Mimic Tier who would have kicked off the whole quest, which eventually rewards you with the Mimic Tier Ashes, but they never made it into the full game. To me, that's a massive letdown, to be honest, as the dialogue lends extra depth to not only the Mimic Tier Ashes, but also the lore behind the Eternal City, Albinorix, and the enigmatic force that birthed them. Just quickly, I want to say a massive thanks to FebUS Alf for your super thanks in my last video about the Fable prequel we never got. It means a lot. Thanks, bud. You can find that video in my video game lore playlist on the Eurogamer channel if you want to watch it after this one. So this is me, Zoe Delahunty-Light, keeping on going on. So let's begin. With a name like Asimi, you can probably guess that it's a broad nod towards Asimi's ability to assimilate with its host. But what is Asimi precisely? Asimi is a Mimic Tier, which in turn is a variation, you could probably even say evolution, of the Silver Tier you find in the Eternal City. While the Silver Tier is described as a formless life form, Asimi has much more depth. They're actually foreshadowed in Elden Ring, as in the Silver Tier Husk item description, it says that the Silver Tier makes a mockery of life, reborn again and again into imitation. Perhaps one day it will be reborn as a lord. By the way, I'm going to be using they them pronouns for Asimi, as its gender is fluid, being a doppelganger-like creature and all. More references to Elden Lords and Mimic Tiers can be found within the description of the Mimic Tier itself, which reads, "Mimic Tiers are the result of an attempt by the Eternal City to forge a lord." Without Asimi in the game, it appears that their efforts failed. Include the Asimi questline, however, and it becomes clear that Asimi, as far as we know, was the closest the Eternal City got to succeeding in creating their own Elden Lord. In their own eyes, Asimi certainly thinks it's their destiny to become an Eternal Sovereign like Marika, but they can only become one by finding a host who becomes Elden Lord. Hence, their interest in you. The questline would have started with the Tarnished almost killing Asimi, but stopping before delivering the finishing blow. You find out that this particular Silver Tier has become sentient, having transformed from a Silver Tier into a Mimic Tier. Asimi tells you, "My true form is that of a Silver Tier. I'm a simple being who can assume the shape of other living things. But now I've gained knowledge. I speak and ponder and live in fear of death. O mighty Tarnished warrior, I beg of you, let me keep the life I've been granted. In exchange, I offer you power." Touching, really. A commentary on sentience and what it's like to realise that you can and will die, perhaps, but there's also a hearty dose of manipulation and flattery in there. Asimi plays to your ego by calling you a mighty Tarnished warrior and offering you power in exchange for becoming their host. When you ingest Asimi, because yep, that's something you decide to do if you do the questline, no matter how many bad vibes that might give me, they say they will live inside of you and grant you strength untold, onward to our glorious future, my host. Suddenly, Asimi is talking about our future, as you and Asimi have assimilated and become one, or rather, you've become their host. Other dialogue options are available if you don't inhale Asimi, which would have Asimi hinting that they thought you would become Elden Lord to try and tempt you to ingest them. Again, manipulative. Self-interest is inherent in most beings, but that goes double for Asimi, who can only survive if they're provided with a host to protect it. The Asimi Husk item description says that it's the remains of an Asimi that has infected a Tarnished. An intelligent silver sludge, Asimi infects the body of Tarnished, granting the host power. Infected is an interesting choice of words. To me, that implies that Asimi is, essentially, a parasite. Otherwise, why use the word infected? That one word has nefarious connotations to me. In the grand meta of Elden Ring and item descriptions, often they seem to be written from the point of view of someone who knows what's going on but is withholding information, so to describe the Asimi as infecting people implies that whoever wrote the item descriptions in the grand scheme of things must suspect that Asimi isn't all they appear. As you'll find out, Asimi leeches off of the Tarnished, so they weren't far off. Unbeknownst to the Tarnished is inadvertently doing a lot more than simply protecting Asimi. Once they see the Ainsel River, Asimi asks you oh so sweetly to go to the Eternal City where Asimi was born and the river flows. There, they say, you will discover the ancient wonders of the stars, a wellspring of strength. This wellspring of strength refers to the dew that created the Albinaurics. The Albinauric shield description talks about the primordial drop of dew from which Albinaurics are said to have been created. Asimi was almost definitely created from the same drop or source of dew, much like the Silver Tears. Interestingly, Asimi doesn't specify precisely who this wellspring of strength benefits, but I can tell you now, it's certainly not you. Soon, almost all is revealed about why Asimi wants to visit the Eternal City. Chalices are hidden within its walls that they describe as the cradle of my kind. That chalice is where Asimi came from, essentially, and then goes on to say that you should find the chalice and drink it dry. Again, manipulative. Upon nearing the chalice, Asimi says, "Ah, my lord host, I am terribly parched. The chalice will quench my thirst, rejuvenate my flesh, and allow me to grant you further strength. Please, my lord host, it is my only desire." Such humility in that last remark, don't you think? You know what I'm going to say next. Manipulative. To be fair to Asimi, this is the first indication that these chalices are actually going to give the Asimi a body itself, as they do say it's going to rejuvenate their flesh. You could easily lose that among the dialogue though. You drink the contents of the chalice, but that isn't enough for Asimi. They want more. "Bless this brook of sustenance," they say. My lord host, great lord host, a tear chalice lies in these lands too, our mother chalice. Please search out this most sacred chalice. It's suffused with the blessed wonders of the stars. It will allow us to become a perfect whole. This remark has the first, but certainly not the last mention of you and Asimi becoming a perfect whole, wherein the two of you will blend completely. The tear chalice's name means that it's specifically made for silver tears, and with it being the mother chalice, it's an even more sacred and powerful chalice than any other one you've drunken from. Whatever lies within Asimi's sacred mother chalice is imbued with the stars, which links to the source of the Albinaurics' arcane magic. Unlike other magic users in the lands between, Albinaurics harness their intrinsic arcane power to cast spells, rather than channeling power from any kind of faith or sorcery or dragon communion. The Albinaurics are connected to the stars, the same stars that control the fate of Carian royalty and Rani, and those same stars imbue Asimi with more power. But even that isn't enough, and Asimi says, "I'm still so very, very parched. In the other Eternal City, there's a cradle chalice to be found, and if you were to drink the entirety of that one first..." Poor little Asimi, they're so parched. The term cradle obviously suggests birth, which is fitting considering Asimi has already consumed the contents of the mother chalice, both of which they need for this next chapter of the quest to ensue. You wake up, wake up, because drinking from that final cradle chalice knocked you out. Standing in front of you is Asimi, in their own body, which resembles your own down to the very smallest detail. "Ah, are you awake?" they say. "We've become a perfect whole. There is nothing to fear. I will merely follow in your footsteps, living only as you would have yourself, and I vow that when I perfect your form." All this time, Asimi has been planning to become, if not identical to you, better than you, exactly like a cuckoo chick. All this time, Asimi has been learning your anatomy, fighting skill, and your choice of armor and weapons, just so they can copy them and steal all that uniqueness from you. While you're incapacitated, they leave to go on their own adventures. On your travels, you finally reunite, although that sounds way too wholesome for this meeting, but anyway, with Asimi. Asimi, after going about killing things in the lands between and using all that knowledge and skill it harvested from you, has decided that they are the superior version of you, and repays its lord host by attempting to kill you to take your place. Upon meeting Asimi at this point, they say they had hoped you wouldn't find them. Sorry, Asimi, but actions do have consequences. The next thing that comes out of their mouth is very telling and exposes why they stuck around inside of you for so long. "You could have become Elden Lord, and I could have become Sovereign Eternal eventually." During the events of Elden Ring, Marika is the Sovereign Eternal, with Radagon being her Elden Lord. Had this eventuality come to pass, Asimi would have taken Marika's place, with Yu becoming their consort. The goal of Asimi is phenomenal, as after using you as a host and copying your identity, they are the one who becomes the more powerful Sovereign Eternal, while you, the blueprint for its very power, becomes the less powerful Eternal Lord. The cheek of this thing, I swear to God. Fail the duel and allowing Asimi to land the killing blow upon you, Asimi's dialogue reads, "If you hadn't found me, we could have both been lords. I was wrong about you. My apologies, Lord Host. I will take the throne." Cold. But that is what I've come to expect. Kill Asimi yourself, and in reward you get the Mimic Ashes, which you can use to summon the remains of the traitor in battle. Kind of dark, but to the victor the spoils, I guess. Also, Asimi had this coming. That's what would have been the story of Asimi, the Parasite, and how you would have got the Mimic Ashes. Personally, I really wish this questline had been kept in Elden Ring, as it lends extra depth to the exceedingly powerful Mimic Ashes and attaches them to a quest that justifies and explains their power. Knowing the whole storyline now, looking back at Elden Ring, it does seem strange that we're just given these ashes out of nowhere, with no explanation about where they came from. Plus, without the Asimi storyline, some of the item descriptions that mention the Eternal City forging a lord go nowhere. While they do provoke intrigue without the Asimi questline, having Asimi around sheds more light on the Eternal City and the chilling way their Elden Lord / Eternal Sovereign would have come about, by being a leeching, cuckoo-like parasite. If you've not yet got your fill of Elden Ring lore, check out my video game lore playlist on the Eurogamer channel and my Elden Ring lore playlist, which you can find on Eurogamer too. Are there any other games lore you're curious about and would like me to cover? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, thanks very much, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Eurogamer, as we have a new video out almost every single day. Now, I'm gonna go and have a drink of something, because after all this talk of chalices and drinking and being parched, I am thirsty as hell, so I'll see you next time.